All right, this is try 2 of my live stream. Apparently I have to do this in landscape mode. So anyway, let me, now that we have this up, I'm gonna get the link, and then I'm gonna paste it to Facebook and Twitter, and then I will, and then I'll be set to go. So let's see here. All right, so I'm gonna put you all down for a second, so you can stare at my ceiling for a second. Sorry about that. I just have to get this typed in to Twitter and YouTube. Join me for my live ride to benefit the Little Lighthouse. Cycling, bikes, bicycles, TLH, and miles for milestones. And tweet that out, and then do the same thing on Facebook. Again, if you're joining me live, I apologize. I have to get this out. Join me live to support the Little Lighthouse with my live ride for miles for milestones. For the Miles for Milestones fundraiser. Turn out the link. Now, I need to find where I put the team fundraiser. Close to that in both places, and then I'll be ready to go. Oh my goodness, I've got too many windows open. So, all right, I'm just about done. Got to post the links to the fundraiser, and then I'll be off. So, fundraiser here. And then throw that on Twitter. Fundraiser here. All right, time to head out. So we'll see if it works this time. This is my second try on this. The first time I had the camera in the wrong orientation. I haven't done a lot of live videos, so we'll see how well this works. I don't even know how long the batteries in my phone is going to last, but we'll see. So for those of you joining, if you're not familiar with the Little Lighthouse, the Little Lighthouse is a special needs preschool. They're a nonprofit organization, and they are fantastic. When we had a special needs child, who died in early childhood. But during the time when he was with us, the Little Lighthouse was a lifesaver, both for him and for our family. All right, so I'm going to see if I can mount this in a way that's halfway decent. I want you to see the ride, not me. Goodness knows we don't need... Let's see here. Mount this guy up. All right, sorry about that. Phones are stupid. All right, so let's see here. That probably needs to be tilted a little bit so you can actually see more road. There we go. I can still get to all my gears. All right, so anyway, I'll check out your view periodically to see how that's rolling. So if it's a bad view, I'll try to fix it in a little bit. So this is my neighborhood. pretty nice neighborhood. So I just do a little bit of neighborhood driving. That'll get me on the trail. We've got this beautiful trail that takes us right by the highway. It's just a great ride. You can actually go pretty much forever on this trail. It goes all the way east, and it goes way north. So kind of goes all the way around the city on Riverside. So you've got some great views of the city, some great views of the river, and so it's a pretty fun ride no matter how you take it. So anyway, I'm not really sure what all I'm going to talk about during the ride. Obviously, we'll talk some about the little lighthouse. My hope is to go 20 miles, but I already had kind of a long walk this morning with my family, so we'll see if I'll still have the energy it takes to go that far. I'm a pretty new rider. I actually hadn't ridden. I rode a lot in college. Hold on, let me get up this hill. There we go. I did a lot of riding in college, but then not so much after that. And then, through a variety of circumstances, including the fact that we had a really bad bike store that would charge you money and not do anything, I didn't ride for years. In fact, no one in my family did. We take bikes to the shop to get repaired, and not only would they not get repaired, they still charged us, said it was all done, and then it'd be just as broken as when we left. So anyway, I'm not extremely handy myself, so I didn't do a lot of biking until recently, and I started doing some work for a international bicycle company, and so I've started riding again, and it's actually really great because I've got bad knees, and so running was not going great. So my knees were hurting, and I could run about 3 miles before everything starts shutting down. So, and that's only on really good weather and other things like that. So I tend to do a lot more biking. I can go further. It's a little more interesting. I can spend more time doing it. I'm getting a much more aerobic exercise. So anyway, while I'm riding out to the trail, let me tell you a little bit about the little lighthouse. So the little lighthouse, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, it's a preschool for special needs kids, and it's not like what you typically think of as a school for special needs, because I don't know about you all, but when I was in elementary and high school, the special needs programs usually just, they kind of sat the kids in a separate area, and I'm sure they did some stuff for them, but it didn't seem to be doing a whole lot for them. I'm sure there were exceptions to that, but it seemed to be largely more of a babysitting program than an actual schooling program. Well, the Little Lighthouse is awesome because they take educating special needs kids seriously. So I remember when Danny went through this, they would have, I mean, it's been over a decade, but I remember when Danny went through the little lighthouse. Let's see, you'll can't even see what you're seeing. So when Danny went through the little lighthouse, it was 4 days a week, and the reason why it was 4 days a week is that the teachers actually spent that fifth day. They spent the entire day planning what the next week was going to be. And so they were literally there to tell everybody there, or not to tell everyone, but to make sure that they had a plan so that when school started, when school started the next week, they'd know exactly what they needed to do, and they wouldn't waste any time. All right. Now we're on the park that leads to the trail. On your left, afternoon. So they spent a lot of time practicing and preparing and making sure that when Monday rolled around, they knew exactly what they needed to do, and they had these little index cards for all the volunteers. So the volunteers would know what they needed to do with each kid. On your left, afternoon. Giant mower up ahead. All right. So this is Hunter Park. I used to come up here all the time when I was a kid. They've now made an extensive dog park over here. Now over on your left is this little wooded area that I haven't been in since I was a kid, but it was great because I had a dirt bike and you could go, there's all trails up and down in there. Kind of need to get myself a dirt bike so I can check it out again. This bike definitely wouldn't make it on there, but it's real fun. But this is the gateway to the main trail for the city. So, if you all don't know about my son Danny, so we've had 5 kids, but we lost 2 of them because of a genetic disorder that obviously runs in my family. And so if you want to know what the genetic disorder is, well, to some extent, it's not really known because there were a lot of conflicting stories. But ultimately, what they kind of thought it was a disorder called cytochrome C oxidase deficiency. And so this disorder, it basically messed up your energy-making functions of your cell. Afternoon. Oh, I hate this part because there's a blind turn and it turns you into dirt. Looks like they cleaned up some of the dirt. So anyway, cytochrome C oxidase deficiency basically messes up the energy production of your cells. And so it means literally every cell in his body had trouble making energy, every single one. So now it affected his heart most, but it affected him in so many ways. He had to be fed through a G-tube. He couldn't really talk. He could say a few words, kind of, but mostly we did teach him some signs. He had this cute butt scoot that he did. And so Danny lived to be 5. Isaac only lived a few months. And they didn't think Danny would live that long either. They told us he would only live a few months. But because we had some awesome doctors, one of them is the greatest doctor ever, Dr. Palazzolo. He's up in the Champaign area. And anyway, that guy is the most dedicated man to his patients I've ever known. So anyway, so Danny had this disorder. It basically affected all of his tissues, so he was low energy, but he did not have a low energy laugh. His laugh was awesome. It was contagious, and he was an amazing kid. Unfortunately, I did not get to know Isaac long enough. He was just a baby the whole time, so he mostly just kind of laid there and did babyish stuff. But Danny, we got the privilege of spending years and years with Danny. Afternoon. So anyway, I grew up here in Tulsa and we moved away, and we moved back because of Danny, so we'd have more relatives around, a little bit more support structure. But you know, if it was just the little lighthouse, it would have been worth moving to Tulsa for, because that organization is fantastic. So let's see if I can think of something. See where about we are in his life. So Danny went to see lots and lots of doctors. They actually weren't sure he was going to survive his first few hours. They actually had to do an emergency C-section to get him out. If I remember correctly, there were 6 minutes between the time that they decided to do the C-section and he was out. So that was quite traumatic for my wife and for me. I can only imagine what it was like for her. But anyway, so and it might sound like, for someone who can't walk, can't really talk, who has to eat through G-tube, that he might not have good quality of life, but in fact he did. I wish I could, perhaps someday I'll throw on some videos on this channel so you can see some videos of him, and you'll see that kid touched everyone he interacted with. And anyway, it's really cute because he actually potty trained about the time you're supposed to, which is pretty impressive for someone who can't talk or walk. He learned the sign that he needed to go potty. He let us know, and we took him there, and it was actually pretty impressive. So at the lighthouse, they would work on all sorts of different things. The biggest thing for Danny actually was his sensory stuff. Let's see if I can, probably need to bump that down a little bit. Hopefully that's enough. So the biggest thing for Danny was being able to process touch. Because if he touched something that he was not familiar with, like a goo or a jelly or something like that, he would literally throw up. Now, that kid, he threw up probably 1 to 3 times every day. So throwing up for him was not a huge deal. And but it was created quite an interesting situation. But But one of the things that would trigger him was definitely touching weird substances. So anyway, so that's one thing that they worked on there, and they actually got him to where he could touch almost anything and not throw up. They worked on sign language with him. They did, and then they loved on him, and they loved on our family. And having a special needs kid is extremely isolating. And so they gave us a support structure that we needed to make it through. So, especially when he passed, that was difficult for everyone. It was difficult for the school, because even though they have a lot of special needs kids, most of them are surviving well. So it was tough on the school, it was tough on us, but having a support structure, and we still have a lot of friends who are associated with that program, who have kids in that program, and it's really just an amazing group. So afternoon. So I don't know, I actually can't, since I'm writing, I can't see where you all are logged in from, or who's even watching, or if there's anyone watching. But I've had people from a lot of different walks of life tune into my channel, and so you might be here because of my electronics videos. You might be here because you're friends on Facebook, or you follow my Tesla Q stuff on Twitter, or from programming videos, or from maybe you followed me over from my Mind Matters articles. Let's see here, what else do I do stuff on? I have some math videos. Those are fun. In fact, my two most recent books are, I did a book on electronics called Electronics for Beginners. I'll probably do some videos on that coming soon. So you should pick up a copy on Amazon. Search for Electronics for Beginners. And then you have to look for the title. They don't put it on it's not the first ranking yet. Hopefully it'll get that way. And my other one is Calculus from the Ground Up. That's my calculus book. I think I published it a year or two ago, and I've read a lot of calculus books, and this one is different from any other one you'll find, because it contains not only math but also philosophy, touch of theology, touch of wisdom, and basically how to use the math to go beyond what the math itself, to take the math, the ideas from the math and apply them to places broader than just mathematics. And so it's one of the few math books I found that does that. So it's interesting though, the number of things in my life that actually stemmed from having Danny. Writing books is actually one of those things. So my first book was Programming from the Ground Up. And at the time, I was recently out of college, and I was the main manager for the web development for the company Wolfram Research. They make Mathematica, Wolfram Alpha, that sort of thing. And so I was the primary developer, not for their software product, but for their website, their e-commerce system, those types of things. And for the day, I have to brag a little. I did a pretty good job for the e-commerce system for the time. This was a long time ago, but I also did hiring for our department, and I recognized that a lot of the developers that were coming out of college didn't actually understand how the computer worked. So I decided to write a book that taught computer programming from the perspective of assembly language, which is the lowest level you can get. That's really basically you're programming at the machine level. So I wrote Programming from the Ground Up, but the time that I used was the time that I was up in the middle of the night with Danny. And that's what gave me the spare time, was actually, that I had to be up at 2 in the morning anyway, so I might as well get some productivity out of it. So I decided to write a book. And so that was my first foray into writing. Maybe not my first, but it was pretty close. I made a little, can't remember if this is before that or after that, I had made a little tiny book called Email Marketing Without the Spam. That was both how to do email marketing and how to do it legitimately. This was back in the really, really early days of the internet. Afternoon? Hey. So, anyway, so I spent those wee hours in the morning hanging out with Danny and writing on Programming from the Ground Up. And then one day, pretty amazing, I got an email from a guy who said, hey, you know what, I'd love to use your book for one of our classes. Are you ever going to finish it? And I looked at this guy's email address, and he's from Princeton. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to finish that. And so I did. And so finished out Programming from the Ground Up. I published it myself, and Princeton picked it up for a couple years. So then, a lot of you may know me from with the intelligent design and creation movements. Again, a lot of on your left. So what was I going to say? Intelligent design creation movements. So while Danny was alive, we spent a whole lot of time doing medical research, because when your kid has a disease where it's not even something that enough people have to have a popular name, cytochrome C oxidase deficiency doesn't really roll off the tongue. And so when no one's heard of it, then you'd better be the experts, because even the doctor specialists, they aren't specialists in that. You have to be a specialist in your own kid. So anyway, we spent a whole lot of time studying genetics, studying metabolism, studying everything we could think of. Looks like I went offline for some of that. Well, I'm not sure what happened. Apparently I hit a dead spot. I've been offline for like half an hour. Sorry, everyone. I wish it would just auto-connect back rather than having you push a button, because I've spent a lot of time talking and I guess no one was hearing me. So honestly, I don't even know what I missed or what you missed. So, let's see here. I guess I'll go back and talk about the little lighthouse. So, the Little Lighthouse is a special needs organization. Let's see here. It is a special needs preschool. It's a private Christian tuition-free preschool. And anyway, they are they're entirely privately funded. They don't take any government or United Way funding. And the reason for this is that they're very effective at what they do. And some of the requirements of some of the organizations are that they do things that are less effective. So, for example, they actually did take government money once upon a time, and so their classes are 4 days a week. And the reason for that is that the fifth day they spend planning. And the reason for that is they want every moment that the kid is in their classes for them to be learning and working on things that they need. They don't want to be, they're not babysitters, they're there to really help. And so they don't want idle time, they don't want to forget their job. They want to make sure that every moment they spend is spent helping kids out. And so when they were taking government money, one of the things the government requests of them is that they go 5 days. And they're like, we can't do that. We can't give quality education and go 5 days, because that removes the ability of our teachers to make plans. Because remember, these are special needs. That means each kid needs a different plan. There's no shared plans because they all have very special, specific needs. But, you know, the government said, hey, if you want our money, you have to do it our way. And they're like, we have to do what's best for the kids. And you'll find that everything they do not for their organization, but for the kids. And it's one of my favorite organizations because they do so well with the money that they're given. They always pay, they're debt-free, they pay their suppliers first. They just have a set of values that mean that they are going to be more effective with your money than probably any other organization you can imagine. And so my oldest, when he was still with us, he was part of the Little Lighthouse. And they did just such a fantastic job with him. So let's see here. Man, I gave my life story, but I think I gave a lot of it while I was off air. Actually, I honestly don't know how much of it I gave while I was off air. Said it got 25 minutes of film, so you missed a lot. A little frustrated because I'm not sure what I should be saying because I don't want to repeat. I also went over some good stuff while I was off air, but I don't know which one it is. So, you know, you do what you do. So I don't know how you came here. I posted on Facebook. I posted on Twitter. I posted on YouTube. So if you're here from Facebook, you're probably one of my friends. It's good to see you. Thanks for watching. If you're from Twitter, you're probably either a technology guy, one of the Tesla Q people, one of the Mind Matters people, or maybe just found one of my cycling hashtags and wanted to see what I was doing. So good to see you. If you're on my BP Learning channel, then you're probably here, probably watch some of my other videos. I do a lot of videos on, I do some on politics, a lot on technology. Been doing computer programming videos, electronics videos, math videos, chemistry videos, all sorts of videos. So let's see here. My podcast, so I'm probably going to put some of this on my podcast. Might have Nate cut this into some podcast bites. My podcast covers all sorts of things. It's a little bit more on the philosophical side. I have seminary training, and a lot of that includes a lot of philosophy. So, in fact, I had a huge dose of philosophy training in my undergrad. There's actually just this one course that was just pretty amazing in the amount of depth that they had you think. And it's on the philosophy of William James. Anyway, it was made me think of a lot of things in new ways and get practice thinking of things in new ways. So, let's see here. I think one thing that you missed, because I was talking about it earlier when I was offline and didn't know it, was I was telling you about my seminary experience. So, I went to seminary. So Danny was my oldest, Isaac's my youngest, and both of them had lethal genetic disorders. So Danny was 5, and Isaac was just a few months. And Danny went to Little Lighthouse, and but between those, I had put off seminary because of Danny. And so after he died, I decided I'd go back. And so if you've paid attention to my podcast, you probably recognize that I'm a pretty conservative, both in my politics and my theology. But I went, for a variety of reasons, I went to a radical left-wing seminary. And if you don't know what that is, just thinking about the professors I had, I would say that at least a third of the professors were openly Marxist, and less than a third of the professors believed in the resurrection, as in a bodily resurrection. I mean, a lot of them, if you asked them, do you believe in the resurrection? They would say, yes, I do. But they would mean something very different by that than most Christians would mean if you said, do you believe in the resurrection? They would mean something like, oh yes, I believe that people can be renewed, or something like that. I believe that if you believe in Jesus, that you will be renewed. If you follow the way of Jesus, you'll be renewed. You know, that's what they mean by the resurrection. They don't mean that Jesus actually rose from the dead. And so, anyway, so that's the seminary I went to. I chose it for several reasons. One of which, I had several friends that went hard left in their theology, and I wanted to know what caused it to swing that way. What was it that people said that would make you believe those sorts of things? Another reason was that I wanted to know. I figure if I'm going to be a pastor, and I'm going to have people in my congregation who believe these sorts of things, and so I want to know more about what it is that they believe and why, so I can more effectively minister to them. So, anyway, and there were other reasons as well. The particular one I chose was the only one in the state that at the time would accept people in the denomination I was wanting to go into, or that the denomination would accept people from that seminary. And so if I didn't want to go out of state, I kind of wanted my family to stay around here, so that was another reason. In addition, they gave me a really nice scholarship, so I've always had good grades. They liked my science background. I think they misunderstood it a little bit. I think if they recognized that I had a leaning towards creation, they might not have wanted to give me that scholarship. But anyway, they did. And so I went to seminary, at that seminary, and I actually learned a lot. I think it was time really well spent. I even learned a lot that's helpful in theology. I just didn't necessarily learn the things they wanted me to learn. So, for example, like, one of the things that I felt they did really good at is recognize, since they were not real hard on the spiritual aspects of Christianity, they did a really good job of at least teaching you how to connect the dots between your theology and other parts of life. So your theology and your science and your politics and all that sort of thing. Now, I had a different theology than them, so that led me to a completely different politics and a completely different view of science. But nonetheless, I learned kind of the method that one might use to connect those in a pretty rigorous fashion. And so I learned a lot of good things. I'm really happy with the time I spent there. There were some weird things. There's some things that I probably did while I was there that I probably shouldn't have. I partook in things that they were doing just to be a part of it when I probably shouldn't have. There's a very questionable Eucharist. Looks like it stopped somewhere in the middle of my story. That's annoying. So I have no idea where I left you in that. So anyway, we'll see where we end up after all this. I'm actually getting tired of my own story, especially since I don't know which parts I've even told. So I need to find, next time I do something like this, I need to find a way that doesn't disconnect so often, or if it does disconnect, that automatically reconnects. Because what YouTube's doing is every time YouTube disconnects, it's just leaving it disconnect until I hit the connect button. And that's not useful. I don't know who thought that would be a good idea. Just reconnect. So, I guess it assumes I'm staring at the screen the whole time. Yeah, I wish it would just reconnect, and then I wouldn't have to worry about all this stuff. But anyway, I need to find some other software that will broadcast me so I can maybe do more of these bike ride talks. And not get disconnected. So anyway, let's see here. So I'm guessing I'm probably coming up upon a dead spot right now. Actually, I also need to find out where the dead spots are so I can just not write in those areas. Let's see here. So let's see, what other story should I tell? Again, I don't know which ones you've actually heard now. Well, even though I only have like 45 minutes of video, I've been talking for an hour and a half. So, and that's a lot for me. I don't normally have a lot of words to say. So, I kind of just gave my whole backstory, but sadly, you probably didn't hear it because of the equipment I'm using. So, again, I have to figure that out. But I do kind of like, I don't know how my sound's coming across. If it's decent, I might do more bike talks. It might be a fun way to kind of do a podcast where you can like look at something like a nice bike ride, and you can look at something, and then I can talk about whatever it is that's on my mind. Because I do, in fact, think of a lot of weird things. Some of them I think of them while I'm biking. Like, man, I wish I had written that down. But if I podcast while I'm biking, that's a different story. I hate this hill. This is the if you don't, so I'm on my granny gear going up this hill, and it's still painful. In fact, most of the way from here home, at least until I get back to the park, is pretty painful, because mostly it's uphill, and they're not easy hills. This is really fun to go down, but it's terrible going up. In fact, it's actually a little scary going down because you get going so fast. I always worry, what if I pop a tire while I'm going super fast? Speaking of which, I need to change my back tire. I changed the tube, but the tire itself is having problems. I need to get that changed out. Ooh, almost to the top. Almost made it. Ooh, yuck. Yuck. Ooh. I'm just going to coast down this hill, and I'll check and see if you're still with me, or if my stupid phone has cut me off again. Whew. One of the nice things about biking is that you can coast and kind of take a break and still be moving. It's wonderful. So, let me check. Looks like we're still going. All right. Okay. This is another ugly hill. This is the last really ugly hill. Up. So, I'm back on my granny gear. This one's not as bad as the other one, but I'm pretty new to biking, so other people could go up this with a lot more power, but not me. See, that guy's going a lot faster than I am. Of course, I also don't know how much is based on weight. Just the fact that I haven't lost weight. I've got a lot more tonnage on my bicycle than most people. So I don't know if it's my legs or if it's my body weight or what. But anyway, I'm not unhappy with where I am. a lot better than where I was. I managed to do this pretty well. I will have done about 23 miles, I think. Normally I record it, but I decided it would be too much to actually try to record and do ride tracking at the same time on this phone. This is an old phone. Back to Granny Getter for a little bit. Whew. But I'm actually feeling pretty good about this ride. Last time I went this far, I didn't feel nearly as good. So that's happy. Whew. Whew. Sorry, I'm not talking so much right now. I'm both tired and a little bit out of words. As I said, I don't, if you've been here the whole time, you've only heard about 45 minutes worth of words. But I've been talking for an hour and a half at least. And phone problems kept me from, I didn't even know I wasn't connected. Didn't give me a ding, didn't tell me or nothing. It's kind of annoying. But anyway, there's a nice little part of the trail. It's pretty, but again, we're going uphill, so it's a little more grueling. There's some downhill parts like this, but then it's going to go pretty steep uphill once we get past here. So that little hill loses all your speed right before you get to the big hill. Yuck. But this will be a mile from the park once we get to the street, which is then only like a mile and a half, I think, from home. So we are coming in on the end. So I'm back to my Granny Getter. I might not have to go this low if you didn't eat off all my speed on that previous hill. Whew. Thankfully, the difficult uphill part is only about 3 miles worth. Everything else is pretty flat. And then there's the neighborhood. Neighborhood's mixed, but I don't mind the neighborhood so much. All right, here we are to the streets. All right, first order of business, see if you guys are still with me. It's also possible that my phone's going to turn off any moment. Doesn't have that great a battery. Looks like we're still connected, are we? Amazing. All right. So now we get to safely cross the intersection. Oh, my legs hurt. Oh, look. Perfect time for a walk signal. Dude. Okay. Whew. Man. I did not realize my legs hurt that much. All right. So now, a little less than a mile to the park and then on to the neighborhood. All right, so I'll go back and say while we're here, if you're just checking in, doing a ride for the Little Lighthouse. The Little Lighthouse is a special needs preschool. It's Christian, it's nonprofit, and it's tuition free. And they are a lifesaver for many, many families with special needs kids. Unlike some programs, I've seen special needs programs where they might do some work every once in a while, but some special needs programs, it's more of a babysitting program. Little Lighthouse is not like that. Little Lighthouse, every moment is spent with intention, with purpose, and they do an awesome, awesome, awesome job. Little Lighthouse, their teachers spend time figuring out, teachers at the Little Lighthouse spend time going over and figuring out exactly what each student needs each day, make sure that they've got a plan for each day, they've got volunteers, and the volunteers get plans from the teachers on what they're supposed to work on them with, and it's just a wonderful organization. I remember when Danny was there, man, they had to do so many things for him, but they did it all. They gave him medicine when he needed to, and he needed a lot of medicine at very specific times. He had a lot of special issues that there's literally no one else who we could have entrusted him to, and they handled them all with grace and care. Miss Julie did such an excellent job with him, and I think her helper was Ashley, and they both did such a wonderful job. It was amazing. We're still friends to this day with them. They're great people, and Little Lighthouse, if you don't currently give, if you need a place to give, that is the place I'd give to. They are amazingly efficient and effective with every dollar that they have. And they have to be. They don't take outside funding for a number of reasons. One of which is that they're specifically Christian school. You don't have to. I don't think you have to be a Christian to go there, but they will not be shy about sharing the love of Jesus with the children. So they're not shy about talking about it. They're not shy about doing it. Anyway, it's just a wonderful organization. I'm probably going to lose you down under this tunnel, but we'll see. Once I get to the top of the next hill, I'll check and see if you all are still there. On your left. All right, I can't tell if you're with me. I'll have to check at the top. This is a super ugly hill. I don't know if it's quite as bad as the first ugly hill, But after the last several ugly hills, it's ugly just for the sake of being the last ugly hill. It's got a micro hill that goes to this hill, and you're just really tired when you start it. But it just keeps on going. Whew. Afternoon. All right, made it to the top. All right, looks like it's still on. Where's it pointing? Looks like it's pointing up. I'll get this pointing down a little bit more. Looks a little better. I have trouble seeing. Hopefully next time I do this, I'll have a better grasp on what I'm doing. It's kind of a spur of the moment idea. I had this idea, I don't know if I had it yesterday or the day before, but I was like, you know what? I should do a bike and I should live stream it. It would be fun. So we didn't do as much fundraising this year because there was a lot of uncertainty about what even was happening, and so we didn't get started until a lot more recently. And anyway, so because of that, we didn't really have a plan. We went on a walk with my dad this morning, kind of did some promotion in his neighborhood. I probably should have had a flyer to hand out or something as we were walking by, but anyway, if we ever do this again, that'd be a good idea. I actually need to figure out how to do awareness campaigns better, just because I'm involved in a lot of organizations, not just the Lighthouse, also Homeschool Oklahoma and the Blythe Institute and Center for Natural and Artificial Intelligence. And anyway, it'd be fun if I could do more of these rides and talks, and I don't know, maybe do a phone call with somebody. Bob Marks was talking about maybe doing a podcast together. I wonder if this would be a fun format for it. Anyway, I've got about a mile left, so I hope you enjoyed our time together. Be interested what the video actually looks like once I get it up. I didn't have much time to test it because this is literally the second or the third take before it actually started recording. So various problems I had. I eventually got it together. So I encourage you, go look up the Lighthouse. If depending on the platform, there might be a link for you. The Little Lighthouse, it's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's a preschool, tuition-free, private preschool for special needs kids here in Tulsa. It also has, so another thing about the Little Lighthouse, you may not know, is that people actually go come from around the world to train at the little lighthouse, because what they do is so unique. And so special, and the people that they have are so good at it that there's literally people who come from around the world to train with the little lighthouse in doing special needs ministries. And there's places in the world where special needs kids are basically kind of thrown away. And to some extent, America's like that with our abortion industry. There's kids who are thrown away because they might be special needs kids. And but I'm just very happy that there's organizations like the Little Lighthouse that believes that each one of them is made in the image of God, and that as such, they deserve our care. And so I hope you make a donation for them. Their ministry is fantastic. It's effective. There's hardly any ministry like it. If you ever get a chance, there's actually a book about the starting of the Lighthouse called Milestones and Miracles. I think there's been a follow-up book to that, but I don't think I've read it. I could be wrong on that. But Milestones and Miracles is the story of the opening of the Little Lighthouse in its early years. And it is truly amazing, truly a miracle, the things that God did. And I wish I could tell more people about it. Get more people involved. But we each only have so much time to give to whatever we're doing. So you do what you can. So I'm tired. There's UPS man. Afternoon. Last half mile, maybe even quarter mile, I don't know. I lose track. Whew. And here is another ugly hill. I'm not going to go to the top because I don't have it in me. Let me go around. Ooh, yuck. Whew. It's the tail end. Whew. Oh, ow. Nice to have a little rolling action. Almost there. You can do it. You can do it. Gotta give myself a little motivational speech at the end. You can do it. You can do it. Whew. You can do it. You can do it. Do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. All right. So apparently my phone died at the very end. Thank you all for joining me on my ride, and I hope to see you again soon. I don't know how to turn this off. So here it is there.